Imagine a woman who seems at first glance to be a perfectly ordinary single mother living in a small, sleepy town in the 1980s. Her name is Joyce Byers, and her life, on the surface, is about hanging Christmas lights, working a modest job, and trying to raise 2 boys. But the story of Joyce Byers is anything but ordinary. It is a raw, screaming testament to a force so powerful it bends reality, defies physics, and stares down monsters from another dimension. That force is a mother's love. Not the gentle, comforting kind sung about in lullabies, but a fierce, desperate, and relentlessly logical kind of madness. When her youngest son, Will, vanishes one night from their quiet home in Hawkins, Indiana, everyone else sees a tragic but straightforward case of a boy lost in the woods, perhaps a runaway. The police write it off. The town moves on with a sympathetic shrug. But Joyce knows, in a place deeper than her bones, that this is wrong. Her certainty isn't born from evidence, but from a primal connection, a psychic thread that every parent feels but hopes never to have to test. She knows her son is alive. She knows he is trying to talk to her. And she knows that the official story is a lie. This is where her logic, a logic born of love, begins its terrifying work, while the so-called rational world tries to calm her down. While the authorities urge patience and psychology, Joyce's world becomes a map of chaos focused into a single, shining purpose. Her small living room transforms into a nerve center of obsession. She covers every inch with Christmas lights, not for decoration but as a communication grid. She paints letters on the wall, creating a giant alphabet to spell out messages. To a stranger, this looks like the breakdown of a grieving mind. But Joyce is not breaking down, she is building a system. She is engineering a solution to a problem no one else admits exists. When the lights flicker and pulse, and a terrifying face appears in the wall, her neighbors and the police see a woman cracking under grief. Joyce, however, receives confirmation. Her son is there, just out of reach, speaking through the very electricity of the house. Her relentless pounding on the wall, her screaming his name, is not hysterical, it is a targeted effort to maintain a connection, to anchor Will to her, to tell him she is listening and she is coming. This is the first great defiance of Joyce Byers. She trusts the language of flickering bulbs and whispered voices over the empty platitudes of the sane world. Her drive then pushes her beyond the walls of her home and into the underbelly of Hawkins and into realms of science she cannot possibly understand. She teams up with Jim Hopper, the town's sheriff, who begins as a skeptic but is slowly converted by the sheer, unwavering force of her conviction. She seeks out a strange little girl named Eleven, who has unimaginable powers, not with fear, but with a desperate, focused plea for help. Joyce navigates a secret government laboratory, faces down suited agents who tell her to stop, and literally descends into a nightmarish version of her own world, the Upside Down, to get to her boy. In every step, her motivation is singular and clear. Find Will. There is no cost too high. When she learns that Will might be trapped in a cold, dark place, she fills her house with heaters, turning it into a sauna, because if he is cold, she will make warmth for him. It is a gesture that is both deeply illogical, how could heating her living room warm a child in another dimension, and perfectly logical within the framework of her love. She is using every tool, every sense, every instinct to reach him. She is not a scientist, a soldier, or a hero in the traditional sense. She is a mother with a wrench, a determined stare, and a love that refuses to be quantified or contained. The climax of her quest is perhaps the most powerful symbol of her unique resilience. When Will is found, he is not saved. His body is recovered, but something else is inside it, a predatory entity from the Upside Down using him as a host. The doctors call it a coma. Joyce calls it a lie. Again, while the world tries to accept a tragic outcome, Joyce continues to listen. She notices a slug-like creature slithering from his mouth, she sees the cold in him, and she knows the battle is not over. Her son is still in there, trapped. Her final act of defiance is both medically horrifying and emotionally flawless. She realizes the thing inside Will is connected to a larger network, a hive mind. It is drawn to blood and heat. So, she decides to force it out. She turns her bathroom into an ad hoc medical bay, fills the tub with freezing water to lower Will's body temperature, and then, with a courage that is almost impossible to fathom, she uses simple handheld heaters to create an excruciatingly hot environment for the creature alone. She is, in essence, cooking the monster out of her son. It is a brutal, terrifying procedure, conducted with no training, based on a theory spun from scraps of information and gut feeling. And it works. She brings her son all the way back, not through magic or superpowers, but through applied, relentless, ferocious love. This is the enduring legacy of Joyce Byers. She represents the idea that the most powerful logic in the universe is not always the one found in textbooks or government files. It is the logic of the heart, which can see truths that eyes cannot, and which can engineer miracles where science fails. Her resilience is not a quiet endurance, it is an active, shouting, messy, and brilliant fight. She never accepts the loss because to her, love is not a feeling that fades with absence, it is an active force, a tether, a lifeline. In a story filled with telekinetic girls, psychic boys, and monsters from other dimensions, Joyce is the most extraordinary element of all. She proves that you do not need special powers to be a hero. You need a phone to tear off the wall, a can of spray paint, a roll of Christmas lights, and a love for your child so immense that it becomes a weapon, a tool, and a guide through impossible darkness. She is every parent's worst nightmare and their greatest hope, embodying the terrifying, beautiful truth that when it comes to saving those we love, we are all capable of defying logic, physics, and even death itself. Joyce Byers is the unwavering voice in the dark that says, "I hear you," and then, with everything she has, sets the world on fire to bring the light back in.